and Helen Norbury, and this is Becoming Unapologetically Me, the show all about authentic self-expression with expert guests from the fields of health, leadership, and mindset. This show is here to show you that you don't need to conform to the expectations that friends, family, and society have of you, and actually what we can unearth when we find the courage to become the unapologetic version of who we are. Grab a cup of coffee and get your notepad out for this week's episode. Hello, and welcome back to Becoming Unapologetically Me. Today, I'm really excited to be talking to Tami Wong. Tami has lived with alopecia since the age of 15 and now empowers women and teens with hair loss. I think our physical appearance can play such an important role in how we feel about ourselves. So I'm really excited to have this conversation with Tami in the context of becoming unapologetically me. So Tami, we start with you taking us back to where your journey with alopecia started. What was it like navigating such a huge change as a teenager?
Yeah, of course. Thank you. So as you mentioned, I was 15. So it started when I took an acne medication, actually. So I had very bad cystic acne as a teen and was looking for something to help with that and feeling very insecure as a teenager with bad acne. And so went to my doctor and there was a new medication on the market that, was popular. They kind of went that route, even though it was a pretty severe medication. I actually took it for 5 months. And I would say a few months into taking it, I noticed that my hair seemed a little bit thinner. My whole family of women has very thick hair. I had very thick, coarse, dark, long hair. And so it took a while for me to notice a big shift because I did have a lot of hair, but it just something felt a little different. I finished the course of the medication and that I was a sophomore in high school, I think at the time. And so then by the time I was a junior, I definitely noticed like my part had widened. The texture of my hair had changed. So it went from being very thick and coarse to brittle and breakable and finer. And so I didn't know at the time what was going on. I grew up in a small town in Nebraska. There was no one around me who was going through hair loss that I was aware of. And so I just didn't say anything. I was like hoping it would go away, but definitely feeling more and more insecure about it as a teenager in high school. And I didn't really have answers for what it was, honestly, until I was 23. I went to college. It continued to thin. I cut my hair really short to try to camouflage that. I tried doing Rogaine in college, which as a college student was very hard to do. At the time, it was just a topical medication. Now they have oral minoxidil. But trying to put that on twice a day when you're in college and have a normal life. When my hair was wet, it would look thinner. So I was like, I don't want to do that. At 23, I went to the doctor because I was like, I need to figure out what's going on. And they did a scalp biopsy. And that's when I was diagnosed with androgenic alopecia. And at the time, I think for them, it was just another diagnosis. And for me, it totally changed my life. It was devastating. I sat in the parking lot of the hospital and cried. I'll never forget that moment. And just knowing that my hair would never grow back was something that was very hard to wrap my head around and comprehend. Yeah, my early 20s, I bought my first wig. It was a synthetic wig. It was something I bought out of desperation and not because I loved it. And there weren't great options on the market 20 years ago either. And so it didn't look like me. I hated it. It was hot. It made me feel worse about myself. So I lasted with that for less than a year before I tried other things to camouflage it. But it was a really tough time as a woman, as a girl, just trying to fit in and be normal and fit this beauty standard, right? I definitely didn't feel like I fit in. And it was something that I was very ashamed of and I hid from everybody.
Yeah. I've heard you talking about the fact that you hid your hair loss for maybe almost 20 years. So
yeah,
what was the internal dialogue like at that time?
I felt ugly. I felt very different. All of my friends had beautiful, thick hair, as most women in their teens and 20s do. And I felt unlovable. When I was 22, when you're dating, and you're teens and 20s. And I got up the courage to kind of tell a guy I was dating that I had alopecia, and he didn't know what that meant at the time. So I tried to explain it to him. And he said at the time, "Oh, that's fine. Yeah, that doesn't matter." And then I think it was the next day or the next week, he broke up with me. So that was pretty a devastating moment again that I will never forget. And it just further cemented in my brain, okay, I'm going to be alone forever. And no one's going to love me. I'm never going to have kids. I'd always wanted to be a mom. It was just all these spiraling negative thoughts of this makes me unlovable. This makes me just someone that is going to be alone forever.
And it's hard enough at that age, isn't it? Navigating that, finding your own place in the world and who you are and what you stand for, and all of that is forming at that age. So to add in the alopecia and all of those extra negative thoughts must have been really heavy.
Yeah. And for the next 6 years, I didn't tell any other guy I was dating. So I used hair fibers, the brand called Topic. So it's like a keratin fiber that you shake onto your thinning spots and it adheres to your hair and it looks like hair. So that's what I used for the next 10 years. And again, kept my hair short, curled it so it looked thicker. And I would just hide it from everyone. I didn't say anything. I would make sure that any spot was covered at all times. And it was really stressful trying to keep that a secret because I was just sure that if I told another person, they would break up with me too. And that only changed when I met my now husband, who I've been with for 15 years. And, we were dating and I knew it felt different. I was like, I think this guy is different. I think he could be the one, which terrified me because I was like, oh, this is going to hurt. Because I was, again, oh, he's totally going to dump me. So we dated for about a month and I decided, okay, I'm going to tell him. And I sat him down and I did this whole spiel of, you're going to think something different of me. You're going to look at me differently. You might not want to be with me anymore. And he was just like, oh my God, what are you going to? So I told him I have alopecia. And again, he was like, what's that? I had to explain to him. And then that's it. I thought you were going to tell me you were dying of cancer or something. And I don't care at all. That doesn't matter. And he truly has never cared. We, like I said, been together for 15 years. We have 2 kids. He has seen me with and without wigs. He has never cared. But even for me, even with him being so wonderful, I still had that internal fear that if he sees me like this, then it might change his mind. I didn't let him see my hair wet until a year ago. And because when my hair is wet, you can see my entire scalp. It's very clear. I have diffuse hair loss. So I still have hair, but it's just all over the scalp is very thin. There's not just one spot. And so I was still terrified, even after all these years. And so thankfully I've gotten past that. But yeah, it took a really long time.
Yeah. So why do you think that female hair loss carries such a heavy stigma? And what does that silence cost women like you? What did it cost you all of those years of keeping quiet and keeping the secret?
I feel like I lost 17 years of my life. That was the amount of time that I really kept it secret. And I didn't share one of the biggest struggles that I was having with anyone. And so I suffered in silence and I isolated myself. And I, again, had all these internal monologues that didn't turn out to be true, that caused a lot of damage to my self-esteem and my confidence. That's a very common thing that I have heard and seen with women with hair loss, because now I am a big part of the alopecia community on social media. I share my story. I have a lot of people following me now who share things with me. And it's very common. We all have that same thread where there's the shame, there's the isolation, no one talks about it. And I think it comes down to beauty standards, Western beauty standards, and shampoo commercials, and these celebrities walking the red carpet, and movies, and all these things where women have perfect, thick, gorgeous, long hair. And it's an image that we're all hit with as women over and over from our childhood on. And it's an impossible standard to live up to, because what no one tells you is that all of those women are wearing alternative hair, pretty much. Nicole Kidman is famous for having worn wigs or toppers in every movie role she's done. like Kim Kardashian, Paris Hilton, Ariana Grande, all these women wear wigs, toppers, and extensions are very popular. And it's interesting because those are okay, it seems, in the world. Those are acceptable. Extensions are fine. They're still alternative hair. They're still changing your appearance. They're still giving you more body. But for some reason, that versus a wig or topper, wig and toppers are weird and extensions are okay. It's such a stupid double standard. That is frustrating. But I think there's still a stigma of if a woman is losing her hair, she must be sick. She must be going through chemo. She must have cancer. That's a very common thing. That is a misconception. And in the reality, alopecia is just a general umbrella term for hair loss. And it's hair loss on any part of the body, but it tends to be your head. And 30 million women in the US alone have the type of hair loss I have. And I think it's 160 million people globally, 2% of the population have alopecia areata, which is patchy hair loss, which maybe you've seen like the circular patches, or that can progress to full baldness. So it's not as uncommon. It's actually very common. And the more you get into this alopecia world, the more you see how many women, even young women, are dealing with this. So it's just because no one talks about it, people think it's
right.
not common.
Yeah.
So yeah.
So what was the turning point then, beyond your now husband, but what was the turning point that made you decide, I'm not hiding anymore. I'm here to share my story and to talk about this?
That was a really gradual thing. I met my husband at 28. I'm 44 now. And I started wearing wigs after we got married. So I think I was 32, maybe. Yeah, 32. And so it's been a little over a decade of wearing wigs. And honestly, starting to wear wigs is where my confidence started to turn around and not because I was putting something on to hide. It was because I finally wasn't obsessing over every strand of hair I was losing. Because anytime I tried to do my hair in the morning, it took me an hour to camouflage all the spots, to curl my hair just right. And then I worried, if the wind picks up and it shows one spot I missed. So I was constantly stressed about it. I was looking in the mirror, making sure every hair was in place. And it was a very unhealthy obsession. And so when I finally decided I'm tired of doing these fibers, it takes so long in the morning. It's so much energy. And I still don't like how my hair looks, but still thinning. And I just decided I'm going to try wigs again. And being able to try them and have fun doing my hair again, it was something I really missed. And it's a way also to express yourself, different hair, different colors, different lengths. I have like different 5, 6 different wigs now, right? So depending on my mood, I got to put on different hair. And it just became fun again. And it was like, I still miss being able to do this and just express yourself through your hair, do different hairstyles. I couldn't do that with my own hair. So I found myself, people would compliment my hair at work and I was like, thanks, it's a wig. And I would just tell everyone and they're like, no, it's not. And I'm like, no, look at it. And, I would like show them and people were just dumbfounded. They had no idea. So that made me feel good. Oh, no one can tell in that fear that you have when you first start wearing wigs that everyone's going to know. Like it was very clear, no one knew. And so that just made me more and more confident of, okay, like I want to actually start showing people that women my age wear wigs and that's okay, and trying to increase awareness that way. So that happened. And then it wasn't until 2022, I got laid off from my job. I was working in biotech and I was devastated. I was working in like lupus advocacy. And it was during this time where no one was hiring remotely anymore, like it had been during COVID. So in Vancouver, there just aren't a lot of possibilities in my field in the commercial side of biotech. So I found myself like, what am I going to do now? And during that time that I was off, I wrote a children's book called Hair Pride about your hair and loving your hair no matter what it looks like and accepting yourself for who you are and knowing that you're so much more than what's on the outside. And that, interestingly enough, is what made me want to share more about my hair loss. So that's when I started an Instagram account and said, I'm going to do something I never thought I would do, which is like show myself without a wig and show my hair as it is. And that led to me cutting my hair into a pixie and just like documenting all these things and wanting to help other women. So it's been a really lovely thing for me because I finally fully love and accept myself for exactly what I look like with or without a wig. And I've made such amazing connections with other men.
I bet. Did you have a fear of being judged when you went out in that really public way on Instagram? And how did you just let that go and say, I'm going to do this anyway?
I did. So it's funny, when I first started sharing, I was collaborating with a wig store here in Vancouver, which I ended up managing for almost a year. And at the time, I was just doing social media with them. I wasn't working for them yet. And I just thought, this is where I go to get my wigs. I know so many other women need help here. And like, I'm going to put my own fear aside and just think about how many women this would help and how much this would have helped me when I was younger if I had seen this. And so that's the attitude that I took. And it was definitely scary. Like the first time I ever posted my own story, I like posted and then just walked away from my phone. I was like, I can't, like, I just felt like I was going to throw up. Then just the amount of support, like this community is again, just so supportive and loving. And I've made some great friends, people I've never met in real life, but everyone is going through such a similar thing. And so getting those messages of thank you for posting this, you helped me. I know exactly how that feels. Thank you for being open about it. It makes it all worth it. And it's gotten easier and easier to post. I don't even think about it now. But yeah, if you had told me even 3 years ago, I would do that, I would have said you were crazy.
Oh,
So it's funny how those things change.
Yeah, and what a blessing for the people who were you of 15 years old and going through all of that and feeling very alone, I'm sure, to know now that they're not alone. So you mentioned there your book, Hair Pride. What message did you want the young readers and their parents to take away from that story?
It was really important for me when I found an illustrator to make sure that she knew my vision for the book was to depict kids of all different races, all different hair colors. I wanted a kid who had no hair in there very adamantly because I wanted kids to be able to identify themselves in the book and say, oh, that kid looks like me. Because I know that's important for people, right? To find someone who looks like them and be able to just, identify with that. So that was a big thing just from an illustration standpoint. But from the message itself, I wanted it to be easy. So it's a rhyming book, something that a young kid will enjoy listening to, even if they can't read. But the message overall is no matter what color your hair is, no matter how thick or thin it is, you are beautiful inside and out. And, people don't love you because of what you look like. They love you for who you are. So that is the main message that I really wanted to take away. And I had some parents of children who have alopecia who bought the book and really loved it. And that made a world of difference to me again, because as a child, when you're different, being able to see I'm not the only one and this person understands.
It's so important. You're right. Yeah. So what surprised you most about who you've become since stepping away from that traditional job life and the corporate life? What surprised you most about who you are now?
I think I'm a lot more creative than I gave myself credit for. I worked in healthcare for 20 years and I was just always working and busy, and I have two young kids. And as a kid, I used to write, I used to draw, I used to be very creative, but I lost all of those things when I started working full time and just didn't have time. And so the time off, at the time I was so devastated, but it ended up being such a blessing in disguise because I would have kept working in biotech for probably until I retired. I enjoyed it, but I am so much happier and fulfilled in what I'm doing now. And being able to use my own experience to help other people and seeing the impact it's made has been surprising to me because I'm like, I'm one little person, but to someone else, and again, to me at 15, would have been very important. So it's been fun to build a business and again, I never thought I'd be an entrepreneur. So that's been cool to see I'm capable of a lot of things I didn't think I would do. And just to let my creativity fly, try new things and see what works and collaborate with people. And just opening new conversations that I think are really important.
Amazing. So how did you find that turning your struggle or your challenges into a mission gave you a whole new sense of power and purpose?
It definitely has. Yeah, that's a great way to put it. I feel like such a more confident person just in myself and being able to walk around. Now because I've cut my hair shorter, I now will walk around without a wig and go out in public, which I never would have done again, and feel comfortable and feel happy doing that and feel just as much myself with a wig as I do without. My ability to empower other people has been really transforming in my own life and seeing that and or just reminding myself how much we can all make a difference. Even if it's to one person, it really matters because you could change that person's life. And building something that I feel like has a positive focus and can make a positive effect on the world is really meaningful. And it makes me excited to work every day.
Mm. Are there any stories that have particularly inspired you along that journey?
Yeah. The first one that comes to mind is one of my clients that I had do a wig consultation. So I also help women find wigs because I've worn them for 10 years and I managed a store. So I've learned a lot. And the world of wigs can be very overwhelming. It's a lot of things to learn. There's so many different things to consider in finding the right wig for someone. And a woman came to me here in Vancouver who had been diagnosed with breast cancer in her 40s and was looking for a wig and just didn't know where to start. And so she came over, we met in person, and went through all the things. I helped her come up with a bunch of options. But through that, we became good friends. And it's just being able to help her with a really difficult time in her life and see how much that meant to her was really life changing for me. But also then coming out of that with a strong friendship and someone that can now be an advocate to the community too and feels empowered through the process. Yeah, it's so meaningful for me.
Yeah, that's really special. That's lovely. So, what would you like to say to women who are still hiding, maybe feeling that shame, afraid to be seen? What would you want to say to them?
I think the biggest thing is you're not alone. I know it feels like you are. And I know that you don't think that there are other women going through this, but there are so many young women, 20s, 30s, who are going through hair loss for a myriad of different reasons. And so you are definitely not the only one. And I would encourage them to talk to someone that they trust, a loved one, a therapist. If they don't have anyone, they can always reach out to me and DM me. It's so important to start talking about it because that is what truly changed it for me was opening up to people that I trusted that were supportive. And I was able to take my power back by talking about it because when you're silent, the hair loss has the power and the stigma has the power. And once you speak it and really put it out there and not let it rule your life, you can take your power back and move forward.
Yeah. I think we hear so many negative things about social media, but it sounds to me like it's played a massive role in your healing and in being able to build awareness around alopecia. So, what are your views around social media?
Yes, it definitely can be negative. I think this special corner of the internet that is the alopecia community is very different. It's just such a wonderful group of supportive women, and they're all over. I have friends in Australia, I have friends in the UK, I have friends in the States. So that's the wonderful thing about social media is it can connect you no matter where you are. And you can build really deep bonds that way. And it's so lovely to post something. And then my friends from all over the world are commenting and supporting. And same for me with what I do for them. There are definitely trolls once in a while. I'm not going to lie and say there's never a negative comment, but it's very rare. And I will tell you that if there is a negative comment, everyone in that community is coming for that person. So we all have each other's back. And it's a mistake if you come and try to criticize any woman with hair loss, that's not going to turn out well for you. So it's nice to know that you are. So it's because we all know how it feels to feel othered and feel just the shame and the fear of sharing. And so we don't allow anyone to do that to somebody in our community.
That's amazing. And what does freedom feel like now that you stopped hiding? And how does it feel now that you're fully visible and you're very out there in the world?
I feel so much more confident in myself and free, like you said. I mean, today, for example, I'm going to the salon I go to with my stylist, and we're shooting a video about hair loss awareness. And I'm going to be on video with the salon of her cutting my hair and my hair being wet. And that's another thing I didn't talk much about, but I stopped going to a salon for many years because it made me feel very intimidated and bare to be in front of people, and people would stare at my hair sometimes and wonder like what was going on. And I had some great stylists who made me feel more comfortable to go back. So now I go in and I whip my wig off. Okay, I'm ready to cut my hair. But again, that's something that 2 years ago I couldn't have done. And so the freedom to do that and not worry about anyone looking at me because I feel confident in myself is it's just the best feeling. And I hope every woman with hair loss gets to that. It was a long journey for me, but it was worth it. And yeah, just showing my hair in all its glory, all the little strands that are still there. I feel grateful to be able to be in that place.
Amazing. And what does being unapologetically you mean today? And what would you like to say to the 15-year-old version of yourself who first lost her hair?
I'll start there. I think, you are not alone. You are not a freak. You are lovable, and you will find unconditional love from someone in your life. And it will not be this huge barrier that you think it will be. It's not going to keep you from living your life forever, but it is going to change your life forever. It's going to change who you are. And I think being unapologetically me, you have to embrace who you are at your core and live that out loud and not be afraid of what other people think, and know that the version of you that you're bringing into the world is going to help someone else by seeing it, because so many of us are hiding our true selves or masking some part of ourselves. And we're doing ourselves a disservice by not being totally free and liberated to be who we are. I hope more people can embrace whatever it is that they think is wrong with them, because it's not, it's a gift that you can turn and share with the world and help other people.
Wow, Tami, you're so inspiring. And thank you so much for shining a light on this area that, like you were saying at the beginning, is brushed under the carpet, even though it's such a common experience in so many women's lives. So thank you so much for having that courage to step forwards and to share your story and to support others in theirs as well. I've really enjoyed this conversation. Can't wait to get it out on the air so that more and more people can become aware of some of the challenges and to know that they're not alone in their journey as well.
Thank you so much for having me. It was a great conversation. I enjoyed it.
Thank you. Thank you for listening to this episode of Becoming Unapologetically Me. Make sure you subscribe to the show on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, or wherever you listen to your podcasts so you never miss an episode.